Good morning. This is VirtualPBX-admin training. Got a slightly early start here, so I'll wait a bit before jumping in. The training lasts about an hour and a half, give or take, mostly depending on load times. Feel free to make use of YouTube's chat feature to ask a question about any feature as I go over them. There are several links in the show notes. Some of them are for features that work better on their own in terms of displaying what they can do, and or because of limitations of my streaming software. Others are like the support page are like links that I reference that you'll find useful. And I guess I should get this set up here. Just a second. There we go. So here you have our dash login page, which is at dash.virtualpbx.com. I generally recommend that you bookmark this page. To get logged in, we need 3 pieces of information. The first is your email address or your username, right? This should be in all lowercase letters. This would be the email address you use to sign up with us, for example. Then we need your password, which should have been emailed to you. This is case sensitive. And then lastly, we need the account name, right? This is whatever organization name you set up when you sign up with us. This could be your own name. If you sign up under your name, could be your company name, etc. Right, and then you would click on sign in. Now, if that doesn't work for whatever reasons, just above the sign in bar, there's a forgot your info link here. You can click on that. It flips the box around. You still need your email address. It's the one thing that we're always going to need. Then down here, your choice of one of these two, right? So we need either the account name, right? So your company name, or a phone number that's on the account, right? That's one of your company phone numbers. Click on the reset password bar here. That's going to send you an email, right? That email that you use for login. It's going to have a link that gets you signed in temporarily to get to your user account page. There, you can change your password. It's going to log you out after you do that. It's not going to let you navigate away from that. Brings you back here to sign in page. You have your option here to click on Remember Me. But other than that, you enter in that password you just created and then click on Sign In. Now, I'm using a test account I log into on a regular basis. So when I log in right now, it takes me right here to my dashboard page. If it's your first time logging in, you actually get taken to your user account page. Now, you can always get to your user account page. If you look towards the top of the page, just to the right of center, you see my name there. I can click on that. And now I have a big pop-up came up. Right, so now I'm on my user information, right? So like I could change my password here, for instance. Now, as a system admin, I also have access here on the left-hand side to the account level settings. Like I could change the time zone and language. I could change who the technical contact is, etc. Then we have add-ons. This is a new feature. This will allow you in the future to add additional features to your Dash account as we release them. So currently, the only add-on currently available is the text forward feature, which allows you to enable a number to accept inbound texts and then sends that information on to you, typically via email. But not for two-way communication. But down the line, as we release new features, they will show up here as add-ons that a system admin can add to your account. Right. Now, some may have a charge associated with it if it's not part of your normal plan. Others will have been just part of the flex plan. Then you can just come here, add on, and turn it on. Then we have the billing portal, right? So any admin can get to this billing portal link here. It's going to ask for the email address and then send a PIN. That's where you would update like credit card information, see previous invoices, etc. And then any admin can also come here and start the cancellation process. If you do start the cancellation process here, when you finish it, the account will close by the next billing cycle. Right. Once you're done in here, click on the close box. I kind of did that too quick for y'all. Let me go back up here at the top right. You click close. That brings you back here to your dashboard. I should warn you that first time logging in, you're going to get pop-ups. All right, so on that user account page, you'll have pop-ups there. You'll have pop-ups here on the dashboard, again on the and under users and groups. So up here at the top, again, click on your name at any time. So like you can change your password. To the right, most of us will have this D&D toggle, right, for do not disturb. Right now, mine is turned on, meaning I'm not accepting calls, right? So calls, someone, like if I have a phone number directly on my user, someone dials it, they're going straight to voicemail, right? My phone will not ring. I can click on it to turn it off. So now I'm accepting calls. Now, if a user does not have this D&D toggle, that means they've been assigned to be a member of the call center or one of the ACD queues, right? The ACD queues and this feature do not work well together. This little phone icon here, this will open up a new tab and takes you to webphone.virtualpbx.net. If you have a web phone device on your user, you can use your dash login information on that page and log in and use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls directly from the browser. That only works on the desktop version of those browsers. Little chat bubble here. This will open up a new tab, take you to virtualtext.app. It's a website, it has its own login information. That's what you would use to utilize or send and receive texts. Now, it has to be enabled on the account and on the user, and that's how you would get the information to log in. Little question mark icon here. This will open up the chat bubble at the bottom right of your web browser so you can speak to a support team member. This little 3 horizontal line icon is the menu icon, or sometimes referred to as the hamburger icon. And this will get you to other dash features. The majority of our training time here will be on the dashboard, but we'll touch on these other subjects. Little arrow here, icon to the right, logs you out. Over here on the left-hand side has VirtualPBX at the top, and then dashboard, and then these other tabs here. These are other core dash features, which we'll be touching on. The auto attendance and the virtual text forward are plan specific or add-ons. So some of you may not have those. All right, here towards in the middle here, total users. Right, I have 6 people on my account. These are people who make and receive calls. Most of our plans are based on a per user basis. So the more users you have, the higher your bill. Then I have total devices. I have 16, and then the breakdown here. So first up is cell phone. Right? So you can add a cell phone or landline phone number as a device on your account. Right? And we send a call to your cell phone. It rings. You can pick up. You can answer and take the call. The main thing to be aware of is when we do send a call to that phone number, you're not going to be able to transfer that call to another staff member on your account. But you can still receive the call and help the person. All right, next up is Softphone. Right, this is a software application that uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. So it's a VoIP phone. This part of this breakdown, this will include the VirtualPBX softphone app and any third-party softphones you've had on the system. Excuse me. Next up is a web phone. So that's that Chrome or Firefox device that you've added to users. It is a kind of VoIP phone, so please be aware of that. And then we have SIP phone. So this is a piece of hardware. Right, so it's a phone that has an Ethernet cable that gets to your router, so it gets out onto the internet, and you make and receive calls on it. SIP is a protocol that some VoIP phones use, right? That's what we support. There are other protocols out there, so if you're shopping for phones, make sure you're looking at a SIP compliant or SIP compatible phone, because that means you at least have a chance of being able to make it work on our system. Unregistered devices, I have one. That means I've disabled one of these devices on my dashboard versus deleting it completely. Total numbers, I have 17 phone numbers. That's probably a little high for this account. Um, your account includes some number of phone numbers as part of your monthly plan price. If you just signed up with us, please check the pricing page. Otherwise, you can reach out to our services team. Then I have a breakdown here. First up is assigned numbers and spare numbers. An assigned number is a number I'm using, right? So someone can dial an assigned number and expect to either speak to someone or leave a voicemail, be sending a fax, or join a conference. Spare number I'm not currently using, still counts towards my allotment, right? I'm just currently not using it for whatever reasons, whether it's because a promotion just ended and I took that number out of service, or I'm about to expand into a new market and I wanted that number ahead of time so I can produce the marketing materials. Then I have USDID and US toll-free. US toll-free is actually US Canada toll-free, right? 800 number, 888, all the way down to 833 currently. USDID just means a US local number, right? So if you have a phone number in Manhattan Beach, California, USDID, just as if you have one in Miami, Florida. You can have international phone numbers on your account. If you're interested in acquiring one, you want to email our porting team. That's PORTING at virtualpbx.com. They need to know the city and country that you're interested in getting a number in. They'll let you know A, if that's possible, and then B, if there are any additional requirements, right? Those requirements would come from the country in question. Conference bridges, I have 3. That means I have enabled the conference feature on 3 of my users, right? So I have 3 people who host or moderate a conference. Now over here towards the top right, I have my main number box. Currently there's 4 phone numbers here, right? So these numbers all behave in the same way. They're all going to the same position in or same location on my system. They're all going to have the same main greeting. You can obviously have multiple main numbers if you're so inclined. The conference number, you can have multiple conference room numbers if you want. They're all going to the same set of conference rooms. And this is the number everyone dials to join the conference, right? That includes your staff. They'll be prompted to enter the conference room number and then the PIN number. Then we have the main fax box number. You can only have the one main fax box number, and this is your inbound fax number. This also allows you to set up or edit your fax box so that you can allow for outbound faxing, which is via email. All right. Company directory, there's 2 links here. One is CSV, the other is soft phone. The CSV is just that. It's a CSV file, so you can open it up with any of your whatever spreadsheet program you like. It's going to show all your staff members' names, their extension numbers, their primary devices, their email addresses. The soft phone version of this file is for use with the desktop VirtualPBX soft phone app, right? So if you use our soft phone app on a Mac or Windows PC, you can download this file and then upload it to your VirtualPBX soft phone on your computer. This will then allow you to see the status of the other VirtualPBX soft phones on your account, right? So if everyone in your company is using a VirtualPBX soft phone as their only device, then you know who's on a call, who's not. And that's just by looking at your soft phone. Sorry, I shouldn't specify. This be in your contact list of your soft phone. Now, if you have a mix of devices, right, you can only tell if they're on the soft phone app. You can't tell if they're using any other device. VirtualPBX Store, this opens up a new tab and takes you to store.virtualpbx.com. So you can order things like a VoIP phone. And then we have the account realm. Every account has its own account realm. It's used in 2 things primarily. The first is it's one of the 3 pieces of information you would need to program or provision a third-party soft phone. So that way you can get that application working. The other thing it's used for is sending out a fax, right? As I mentioned, this is via email. So you create an email like you normally do. In the to field, you put the plus sign, the number 1, the area code and phone number. You put the @ symbol, and then you put the account realm. Then you just need to attach a PDF or TIFF file and click send. The system only sends one attachment. It doesn't look at the body of the email. It doesn't look at the subject line, right? It's going to look at the attachment, the to field, the from field. All right, up here, so it says dashboard, VPBX new hire sandbox, and then caller ID. I click on that. It's going to open up this big box. This first pull down, this which you unfortunately I can't show you here, but this will let you select any of your main numbers on your account. And when you select one, that number becomes your default number, right? So like by default, any VoIP phone on this account is going to use this 512 number here as its outbound caller ID. You'll have the option here to enter information for the company caller ID name. So in the box here to the right, you can enter up to 15 characters. That includes spaces or special characters, right? So 15 total digits, if you will, or characters. Then the system will want you to enter your company emergency information, or E911. It wants a North American address. For our Canadian customers, in the zip code field, that is where you would put your postal code. And in the state, that is where you would put your 2-character province abbreviation. And then click on Save Changes. If you entered information in the company caller ID name field, after you click on Save Changes, that information gets transmitted to the other carriers who support this feature. It takes them about 3 business days to update their servers. Now, what happens is when you make an outbound call from your VoIP phones, right, we send this number, we also send this data that you inputted. Now, when you make a call, it goes through several carriers before it reaches its destination. If one of those carriers that does not support the CNAME feature here, that information doesn't get to that end carrier. And that final carrier, right? So the carrier, the person you're calling, right? They have final say about the information that shows up on the phones in their network. So what can happen? One, they see our information that we send, they pass it through, everybody's happy. Most common thing that we encounter is that final carrier sends the number through, but not the name. Now that's what mostly happens with the cell phone carriers, right? They'll send the number through, but they won't send the name. Now there are some exceptions to that in that, like my cell phone carrier would love to charge me $10 a month so I could have the name information show up on every call that comes to me on my cell phone. I'm pretty sure most of the other major carriers have some sort of feature that you can pay for to have that show up. And then in rare circumstances, with that final carrier, they can see that number and they pass it through, but they look up their own database and put that information instead. There's not a lot we can do in that situation. We can double check the databases we have access to and update, but it's possible that that receiving carrier is using something we don't have access to. All right, hold music. So on your Dash account, hold music is defined as after a call is coming to the system and reach someone's VoIP phone, right? Your VoIP phone, your staff members picked up their phone, and then press the hold button on their VoIP phone. That's when this hold music file will play. Now, you can upload your own files, right? .wav and .mp3, up to 1 megabyte in size. I recommend recording in mono, not in stereo, so that way you can have a longer duration file for that 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes. Right here, this is a pull down. So if you already have media files on the account, you can choose one that you already uploaded. You don't have to upload a new one. But other than that, you click on the browse button here, select the file, click on the up arrow icon, and then save changes. You'll get an upload progress bar, and then that becomes a default hold music for all your staff members. Now, ours is part of main number. but you don't typically want to set up your main number until you have destinations on your account. So over here on the left, we're going to click on the user tab, which is a little person with a desk. And here we are on the user page. Now here, right, shows all your staff members that you've added to the account. The people with the blue suit icon, those are your system admins, right? So they can make the changes we're talking about and going forward. Dante here, the second person down, right? He's a little gray person icon. He's a standard user. He has very limited access. Like he can check his voicemail, he can set up his own call forwarding. If he's assigned to the call queues, he can access the call center. But that's it. He's not going to be able to do, add devices or change routing or anything of that nature. Up here at the top is where you would click on to add a new user. And you basically fill out the form, right? So first name, last name, just want some kind of character. The email address used for login, this needs to be unique for each user, right? So you can't reuse an email address for multiple people. This is how the system communicates with your staff, right? So if like voicemail notifications or password resets would be sent to this email address. Create a password for the user and then create a main extension number for them. Now, the system will suggest something in the 1000 range to start, but you can enter whatever you want. Right. I usually recommend 4-digit extensions as that gives you the most versatility and room for growth. By default, this first option is checked, which is create the voicemail box for the user. Right, this voicemail box is intrinsically tied to the user. So, for instance, if you create the user and the voicemail box, and you added a VoIP phone and get that registered, that user can pick up their VoIP phone, dial *98, and then click send or call. That logs them directly into the voicemail box you just created for the user. Right, the system will then walk them through creating a PIN number for their voicemail box, as well as then walking them through creating their voicemail box greeting. They can get through the personal greetings or personal settings, so they can also like record their name, which is what the system uses for the directory. Speaking of, if you want the user to be included in the user directory, you can just put a check mark here. You can always change this later. Here, you have the options to send emails to an alternate address. So if you don't want those notification emails to be going to the email address used for login, you want to go someplace else, then what you would do is click on this little check mark here and enter that different email address here. And this is something you can do or change later. And then lastly, something I recommend putting a check mark in front of is send credentials to the user. So that way, when you click on create user or create user and add another, this person that you just added, they get an email welcoming them to the Dash account with their login information. Now, once a user is created, right here, you can change their name if you need to. Here's your option to change their credentials. Right? So you can change their email address, their password. You also have the option here to send them the password reset email, right? So they can change the password themselves. You can change their voicemail box PIN number here. Just enter 4 digits and then save changes. So here's the option to send emails to an alternate address. Here's the option to be in the user directory or not. Over here to the right, the little person icon, this is where you change a user into an admin or an admin to a user. Right, it's just a pull down. Little clock icon here, this allows you to change the time zone for the user, right? So that way their voicemail timestamps are correct for their time zone. The little flag icon, this pull down allows you to change the display language of the web pages for the user. You have English, French, and German or Russian. A little bell icon here. This is the ringing timeout. By default, this is 20 seconds, which is plenty of time to send calls to a landline or a VoIP phone. If you have someone who's only using a cell phone, you'd want to change this to 30 seconds or more. Now, in this case, it's grayed out because Dante here has a feature enabled called Follow Me, which takes precedence over the ring time, right? Because that's what's going to control it going forward. And any changes you make, you click on Save Changes here at the bottom right. If you need to remove a user, that's the option here on the bottom left. Extension number for or section box for the user. You can always add multiple extensions to a user if you're so inclined. And just enter the new extension number and then save changes. Users can have their own phone numbers if you want them to. Now, one thing to note when you're adding phone numbers is if it's not a main number or auto attendant number, right? So anywhere else on the system, when you add a number, that number is available 24/7, right? It does not have hours of operation. Now, you always have the option of adding from spare or by numbers. By numbers is adding new numbers to the account, right? Adding from spare means you're reusing a number or getting a number that hasn't been used and putting it in place. So if you go add from spare, right, it shows you your available numbers, and you would just click on the box in front of it and click on Add Selected. And then you have this little gear icon here. You can update the caller ID, right? So outbound information and accept inbound CNAME. E911, you can set up the E911 address for each phone number, right? So now obviously if you just have one office location and that's where everyone works, probably not necessary to do the same address for every place. But in like a remote working situation, you could then set up an address for each location you have staff members at, and then assign this to their VoIP phone specifically, right? So I can set up an address here and assign it to Dante. So that way, because Dante works from home, right? Whenever he picks up his VoIP phone, and if he needs to dial 911 from his VoIP phone, the correct address is transmitted to emergency services. Prepend, this is a VoIP phone feature. This allows you to enter text that shows up on your staff members' VoIP phones in front of the caller ID. Right, give them an idea what the call is about. Now, by numbers, you have local or toll-free. We'll start with toll-free, it's easier. Choose a toll-free prefix you want to work with. Click on search. And then you'll get a list of numbers that are available. You can scroll down to keep adding more to the list. Click on the add button to add it to your cart. Now, when you do that, you haven't reserved the number, right? It's still, someone else can still grab it before I'm done completing the process here. Now, I can add multiple numbers if I want to. I could remove a number, right? Say, oh, I don't want that one after all. But then I click on by numbers. Now I'm moving that number to my account, right? So I'm grabbing it for real. It can take a little while for that to go through. This is taking a little longer than I'm used to. So for local numbers, it's a similar process. You just need to know the area code that you want to work with, and you would search for that area code. Now, it's possible for any area code, including the toll-free prefixes, that you'll get a message saying that there's no numbers available. So here we go. Here for local, I'm going to enter 310. Right? You can get this message for any area code. Now, what you would want to do in this instance is do a search, right? Use your favorite search engine. And in this case, I would do a search for area code 310 overlay. Right? That would tell me that 424 is the overlay. So then I can get a number that's still in that same geographic area, right? It's just not that original area code I was thinking. Right? This comes up in a lot of the major cities across the country and in Canada. Um, right? Some cities have multiple, like 3 or 4 area codes that have the same geographic boundaries. 310 is in Los Angeles, and it has only the one overlay, but all around it, there are several other area codes. Uh, and some of those have overlays themselves. So uh, something to be aware of. I'm still not sure why the system is so slow to add numbers today. It's very strange. And then once you're done with the adding numbers, you would click on Save Changes. Now, if you don't want to have a number where it's currently located, you would go to that location, click Unassign next to it, and in this case, Save Changes. So then it becomes a spare number again. Next up, we have the Devices box, right? You can add from spare or add new devices. First, under new devices, SIP phone, right? So this is that physical hardware. Find the manufacturer you want to work with, right? Some of them have a lot of phones, right? Some have like a dozen. But find the make and model of the phone you want to work with. Then down here, give it a name, right? Bob's phone, warehouse phone, what have you. Give the MAC address. This should be a sticker on the back of the phone. Or if the phone's plugged in, check the status settings. It should be listed there. And then click on Create Device. And then you would click on Save Changes. You want to click on the device box again, find the device you just created and click on its name. Then in Advanced, go to Miscellaneous. And here where it says Allow Reprovision, click on Unlock. Get the little green status message. Click Save Changes. And then click Save Changes again here on the device box. Now, as far as our dashboard is concerned, you're all set. However, you need to log into that phone's web user interface, which typically means getting the IP address of the phone and putting that in the web browser on your computer. And that computer should be on the same network as that phone. You log in and you give that phone a URL to go to get its config file. For the specifics of that, look in the show notes. There should be a link for at least for the support pages, but if not, also for the auto provisioning phones document. That document will have screenshots of these various manufacturers, the proper syntax for that URL, and in some cases, some settings to double check. Right? But you go through all of that, the phone should reboot at least once or twice. And then after that, it would show up as a green device on your dashboard here, so that you can make and receive calls from it. Next up is cell phone. Now, cell phone and landline are the same process, right? You still give it a name, right? So Bob's phone, right? And then here on the number field, you put the plus sign, number one, area code and number, and then click on create device, right? And then save changes. So if I go here, right, this is that format. Now, if we go to the advanced options, this format here, right? So the bottom two are checked. That's the standard or default settings for a new cell phone or landline. So, right, call comes in, right? Ends up going out to my cell phone. My cell phone rings, I pick up. What I first hear is, this is a forwarded call. Please press 1. Right? So when I press 1, I'm telling the system, yes, I'm here, and yes, I want to take this call. Right? The call is connected. I begin speaking to the person. Now, if I don't press 1 in time, then that call is either going to my next device or to my system voicemail. Right? Now, that's fine for setting calls to a person, right? Because they can make that decision if they want to accept that call or not. It's also an audio way for them to know, oh, this is a work call. Now, if, for instance, you have contracted out with another company, like an automated answering service to handle your calls after hours, right? They will typically give you a phone number and say, hey, send calls to this phone number. We'll handle your after hours calls. In that situation, right, an automated answering service is not able to press 1, which means we would send the call to the number, but they would never be able to pick up. You get frustrated and you're, say, hey, calls aren't getting through to the people I need to get through to. So in that instance, you'd come to the device that you added. So the number from your answering service that you added as either a cell phone or landline on the account. Under the advanced options here, you want to put a check mark in front of this first one, which is allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So now when we send a call to this phone number, when we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call. Right? There's no message about a forwarded call. There's no need to press 1. It's pickup tone, call connected. If this is actually your cell phone number, what can happen, right, is your cell phone voicemail can pick up. That's still a pickup tone. So that inbound caller ends up on your personal cell phone's voicemail. Some people want that, some people don't. The other thing that could come up is this one here, is keep original caller ID. By default, when a call comes in and rings my cell phone on the account, right? So customer Mary is calling in. On my cell phone, I see customer Mary's phone number. Now, if I don't recognize the number, I may let the call go to voicemail, right? Which means I could lose a sale. If I uncheck this, right, and then click Save Changes, what happens is on my cell phone, instead, I see this number up here that I selected, right? So that's a visual way for me to know, oh, this is a work call. Let me answer that. All right, next up is soft phone. So whenever you add a soft phone or web phone, you're going to get this warning message. Please make sure you read this at least once. When you click close, this big box comes up and the system will default you to adding a third-party soft phone, right? So meaning you're using somebody else's soft phone application, which is fine. You want to give it a name, then you're going to want to copy and paste the SIP username, right? Because you're going to need that to program that soft phone application. If you click on the SIP password box, you'll see the SIP password. So you want to copy and paste that. Please don't change it, right? And then you need the account realm. Those are the three pieces of information you would need to program or provision that third-party application. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone app, what you would want to do instead is down here below where it says View Configuration Guide, is a toggle. It says Use Third-Party Application. But if you click on it, now it says Use VirtualPBX Application. So you still need to give it a device name, and then you click on Create Device, and then you click on Save Changes. Once you click on Save Changes, Dante here, for example, would get an email saying your VirtualPBX soft phone is ready. Give him the login information. It will also have download links, so then he can download the app to his appropriate device. Right, so because we have to send that email is why you have to add the VirtualPBX soft phone directly to the user. Web phone, similar, right? You get that warning message. A little bit easier because all you do is give it a name, click on Create Device, and then click on Save Changes. Right? The web phone uses your dash login, which is why you want to have it assigned to a user directly. But then now going forward, Dante can go to webphone.virtualpbx.net, use his normal dash login information, and now use Chrome or Firefox to make a receive a call. All right, dash feature or user features. First up is caller ID number. This is for users that have an assigned phone number to them. And the reason to enable it would be if you want to have that phone number be their outbound caller ID. So for instance, like your salespeople, if they have their own direct phone number, you may want to have their enable this feature for them. So that way, when they make outbound calls, the people call them back directly, right? So they get back to the person who was trying to make the sale to them. And then you would click on Save Changes. Voicemail, right? This is a standard setup for voicemail boxes. Voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. After that, they are full and cannot accept any more. And by default, you have 3 ways to listen to messages and two ways to manage your messages. So in this default setup, for example, whenever a voicemail is left, I get an email saying, hey, you have a new voicemail. In the body of the email, I have the date, the time, the phone numbers involved, and the voicemail box number. And then an MP3 attachment, right? So I can just click on it and listen to it directly, on my computer or my phone or wherever I'm getting that email. Right, so that's the first way I can listen to a message. Now, after that, I can log into my dashboard here, go to my user portal, which here I can close this out real quick, right? Under here, the menu icon, I have the user portal. And when I go there, I can listen to the messages directly in my browser. I can download them. I can delete them. All right. The other way to check your email or voicemails is via your phone. All right. So from a VoIP phone, right, pick it up, hit *98, logs you directly in your voicemail box. Listen to messages, delete them, etc. From a cell phone or landline, you could do that as well, but you would have to call into like your main number that has like a main greeting playing right off the bat. Because when you hear that greeting, you would hit *97. Then the system would ask you for the voicemail box number and PIN number. Now, you also have the option here to delete messages after notification. So basically that means the voicemail box would never get full, right? Because basically we send out that email saying, hey, you have a new voicemail, here's your attachment. Then the system would delete the message from the voicemail box. Now, that does mean you can only ever check messages via email. So if you have a problem with your email, you can miss messages. Follow me. This is designed for users with multiple devices, where you, as an admin, you set up what devices are going to be made use of. So up here, you would click on Enable, and then under Do Not Ring, you have to decide which devices are going to be made use of. So uncheck the devices you want to use, and you see a little green bar show up here. You click and drag that to the right to give it a ring time. Now up here, this is a box of the total ring time. It defaults to 120 seconds. You can change that. You also have this distribute button. So now I can, if we click on that, I distribute the time between these two devices equally. Now I can still click and drag the times to have more overlap, or I can click and drag a device and then click distribute again to change the order. And then click on Save Changes when you're done. Faxbox, you click to enable, and this allows you to create a fax box specifically for a user, right? So it's their fax box. When you do so, you're given the option to use a spare number, buy a new number, or add a new extension number. I recommend making use of a phone number, as that gives the user the most versatility, right? They can send and receive faxes. If you choose an extension number, they'll never be able to send a fax out because the system uses or tries to use that extension number as the outbound caller ID, and that will fail. And potentially you limit who can send them a fax, right? So like some electronic fax services, at least the ones I've looked at, they don't have a provision to add an extension number, right? They just let you add in a phone number and click send. And even for people with an analog fax machine, right, they would have to know how to add extension numbers in the format of their fax machine, or just like hang out and listen as the fax machine makes the call and hear the greeting and then enter the extension number and then send fax. Conference bridge up here is where you enable that user to host or moderate a conference and then enter the conference room PIN number for them. Then click on Save Changes. Now your users that you've assigned or enabled the conference feature on, they can change the PIN numbers on their own via the user portal. The enable video conferencing, if you turn it on, just means your staff members can make use of video, but anyone calling in from outside would not. Call forwarding, you have off, on, or failover mode. Your users can turn call forwarding off or on their own. Failover mode is something you would enable and set up. This is for people with VoIP phones. And what it's designed for is if a VoIP phone becomes unregistered and a call comes into that user under failover mode, right, the system would know that the VoIP phone is unregistered and then automatically forward the call to the phone number you designate. Right. So you set it to failover mode, and then choose a mobile or desk phone. Enter the number, right? +1 area code and number, no spaces, dashes, or parentheses, and then click on Save Changes. Now, in my user's case here, right, I have 3 devices, one of which is a cell phone. I don't need to enable call forwarding under any format because I already have a forwarding device there. Now, if you have a user that only has a VoIP phone, then call forwarding is a viable thing to set up. Customize call recording. You can choose to enable or to record calls on your account. So first click enable, and then it'll look like this. So you have to tell the system what kind of calls are you recording, right? Inbound internal, right? That's a coworker call, right? So Dante called me. Inbound external, customer Mary called me, right? Outbound internal, I called Dante. Outbound external, I called customer Mary. So this is one way we see call recording setup, or we see all 4. Now, your account includes some amount of data storage as part of your plan price. If you're recording every call and have heavy call volume, you're going to want to talk to our account services team about options in terms of enabling AWS integration on your account, which means you would also need to have an AWS account, but that would allow you to link your Dash account to AWS and then store your call recordings on AWS, right? Which is, especially at heavy volumes, that's going to be more cost effective. And I believe, at least for many insurance companies, they're being required to store recordings for 10 years. That's something you definitely want to have AWS for and link to your accounts. In fact, usually our sales team or services team will mention that if that is your business. Music on hold, you can choose to have users have their own hold music, right? You would click to enable, and then you would upload a media file, right? .wav.mp3 up to 1 megabyte. Click the up arrow icon and then save changes. And that's this person's hold music, right? So if you want your salespeople to have one set of hold music, talking about promotions, etc., you can do that and then leave the other ones with the default that you set up under the dashboard page. Do not disturb, click to enable, right? So like a user had to leave and, for emergency, you can just have calls not be offered to them, go straight to voicemail. Hot desking, this is a VoIP phone feature designed for like shared office environment or hybrid scheduling, right? So you would click to enable, and then you enter a hot desk ID number. Now, I normally say, especially if you're using four-digit extensions, just use their extension number. Up to you if you want to include a PIN number, and then save changes. So, for instance, I come into the office on Tuesday. I sit down at desk number 3. I pick up the VoIP phone there. I hit *11. That turns on hot desking on that phone. The system will ask me for my hot desk ID number. I enter it. It will then tell me calls will now be sent to this device, right? So the rest of my workday, any call that's going to my user ends up ringing at the phone I'm sitting at. The end of my workday, I pick up the phone again. I hit *12 to turn off hot desking, and I go home. Next time I come into the office, someone's already at desk number 3. I say good morning. I mosey on down to desk number 11. Pick up the handset, *11, enter my hot desk ID. Now I'm getting calls there. All right, next up we have groups, right? Ring groups or hunt groups, basically departments that you have a group of people answering calls about a similar topic. Up here at the top, you click on Add Group. You need to give it a name. You need to give it an extension number. And then you click and drag your staff members that you want in the group. All right, click on Create Group. Once a group is created, all right, you can always change the name. You have group call attempts. You have little arrows here to the right where you can increase or decrease that. This is how many times the system offers the inbound call to the members of the group. You also have the option to delete a group if you no longer need it. And if you made any changes, click on Save Changes. Next up, we have the members box here, right? Shows my staff members here. If I need to add people, I can do so. Right, now I can click and drag the ring time. So for instance, I could do something like this. Right, this is ring all or blast ringing, where everyone is offered the call at the same time for the same amount of time. Now, in that situation, whoever answers the call gets the call, right? Whoever answers it first. Now, if 2 people answer at the same time, one of them is going to get dead air, right? Because only one person can actually answer the call. In an office environment, right? The person who didn't get the call can probably hear their colleague answer the call and go, oh, okay, someone handled it. In a remote working situation, you might need something like Slack to confirm that someone got the call. Otherwise, as an admin, you might get people telling you, hey, I'm getting data every time I answer the call. You'd have to check the call log to see what happened in terms of, there's a call from the group, did someone else answer, etc. Now, You have timestamps up here at the top, right? The default time for a group is 2 minutes. You can change that. You can click distribute, right? So now you're ringing an order every time. Now, calls to the group, they're not going to skip somebody, right? So a call comes in, Jeanette answers it. She's helping that caller. Second call comes in while she's on that call, she still offered it, that second call, even though she's already on a call, right? And then after 30 seconds, then the call is offered to David. Now, if Jeanette and David are both on calls and a third call comes in, right, that third caller was waiting 60 seconds before it's offered to Dante. So that's an instance where you'd probably want to do something like so. Right. Now, sort of like under follow me, you can change the order and click distribute, right, in case people are on different projects. One thing to keep in mind, calls from a group, when they're offered to these staff members, the group call ignores the follow me setting of the user. Right. So like if Dante has follow me setting to ring his devices in a set order, that would work fine if someone called him directly or entered his extension number. But a call from this group, when it goes to him, all three of his devices ring at the same time. Right. Groups can have extension numbers. They can have multiple if you need to. Groups can also have their own phone number, right? Add from spare or buy new. You have a little gear icon here as well. And again, this phone number is available 24/7. Group features. First up is ringback. So call comes into the group, is offered to my staff members, right? Their phones begin to ring. That ring sound is piped back to the inbound caller, right? Ringback. If I don't want that ring sound to be piped back to my customer, I can enable the ringback feature and then upload a media file, right? .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono up to 1 megabyte. One thing to keep in mind, the system does not loop the file for you. So you want to make sure your ringback file is at least as long as your total ring time of the group, right? So the default is 2 minutes, so you want to make sure your file is at least 2 minutes long. Next action, to me, the most important feature, if no one picks up, what do you want the system to do? You come down here in this pull down, you select a destination on your account. That can be another group. You can send it to a specific user or device, or you can send it to a voicemail box. And then click on Save Changes. Allow call forward. You can turn this on. That means your staff members can make use of call forwarding. Right. So if again, if you already have a cell phone device on the user that's enabled, then you won't typically need this. But if you're typically like strictly VoIP, then you would probably want to have this enabled. Caller ID prepend. This is for your VoIP phone users. You can add additional text or numbers that shows up in front of the caller ID on your staff members' VoIP phones. Give them a heads up about what the call might be about. I recommend using one or the other, not both, as that can be confusing for your staff. All right, so we have users, we have groups, we've added devices to the users. So let's go back to main number here on the left. So first up, your main company numbers. You can always add more, right? Add from spare, buy new. You've got the little gear icon here, so you can add caller ID, E911 prepend. You can click unassign next to any number you no longer want to use. Office hours strategy, you have 24-hour open office, right? You're open 24/7. Or custom office hours. If you choose custom office hours, put a check mark in front of each day of the week that you're open, and then select your open hours in that 24-hour or military time. You also have the option to say that you're closed for lunch. Just put a check mark here, and then enter your lunch hours in 24-hour or military time. and then click on Save Changes. Office holidays, if you're closed for holidays, put a check mark here. On the right-hand side, you have Add Holiday, you have single day, date range, or advanced. So single day, like I have here for Christmas Day, right? I gave it a name. Choose the month and the date. Save changes. Date range, right? Gave it a name. Start date, end date. Save changes. Advanced is like Memorial Day here. Gave it a name. I choose the month. This second pull down, I can choose from 1st through 5th as well as last, and then the day of the week. Right? And then save changes. If you need to get rid of a holiday, click on the little trash icon and then save changes. And then we have incoming call handling. So for my 4 main numbers, how do I want the system to handle calls during my open hours? I have an after hours tab and a holidays tab. So how am I handling calls during these times? Now, first option here, I have calls coming in. They're going to my virtual receptionist. This is a link that I click on. This shows my options here. So first up, main menu. These are menu options my inbound caller can press on their phone to navigate through my phone system. Down here, I click on Add Route to create a new row. This first pull down, you have 0 through 9, as well as the star key and the default action. The second pull down are things that you've already added on your system, right? Users, groups, call queues if you're making use of them, voicemail boxes, etc. You can remove an option by clicking on the X here to the right. Further to the right, greetings, right? This is where you say thank you for calling, and then you give your inbound caller instructions, right? 1 for sales, 2 for support, that sort of thing. First up is text-to-speech, where you can type in a greeting and the system will read it back, right? It'll be a computerized or robotic voice. This is great if you're just starting out or you're not exactly sure how calls are going to, how you want calls to flow right away. The box here, you can enter up to 250 characters, not words, that the system will read back. You can sometimes get a little over that, but not by a whole lot. Also, the system names the file for you. Right? You're not able to change it here. So whenever you add one here, because we're under my open hours, it'd be main open hours menu TTS will be the file name, which can be bad because if I come back and edit the file, with the text in the box here, then I can have 2 files called main open hours menu TTS. I can upload my own file, right? .wave.mp3 up to 1 megabyte. Click on choose file, and then update and save changes. Choose from the existing recording, right? This pull down will show all the media files on your account. Hold, the ringback, the hold music files, your voicemail greetings, your main greetings will all be listed here. So you want to use a name that you can recognize. You can record it over the phone. When it says pick up a phone registered to the account, this means a VoIP phone. But basically, you would dial into your main number. When you hear the greeting play, you would enter in this PIN number. And then the system would walk you through recording a new greeting. Now, let's say you don't have a VoIP phone registered on the account for whatever reasons. That's fine. Then what you would do is under settings, where it says allow outside recording, you would turn this on. This allows you to change your main greeting with the phone outside of the system, like a cell phone. Right? So you call into your main number, hear the main greeting, hit star, or enter this PIN number, right? And then the system will walk you through recording over the phone. Now, this PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So my open hours, right? So if I entered this PIN number, if I called in on Saturday, entered this PIN number, the system would say that's an invalid entry. So basically, I can only change my open hours greeting during my open hours over the phone. Professional recording services. When you click order, this will open a new tab, take you to Snap Recordings. It's a separate company, but you can order a professionally done recording by them. They'll email you the file, so then you can upload your own file. All right, settings. Number of retries on misdials, how many times your inbound caller can make a mistake. Typically, anywhere from 0 to 3 is what we normally see. They get one built-in attempt automatically, right? Uh, but anything you enter above that, that means they get an additional attempt. So right now I'm at 0, so I only get the one attempt. If I put 1, now they have 2 total attempts. Dialing timeout, this is how much time the system listens for an additional button press. All right, so the inbound caller calls in, they press 7. The system's going to wait for a count of 5. Say, oh, they meant 7. Well, not a menu option, not an extension number. It will double check to see if there's a retry chance, and if so, then the greeting plays again and gives that caller another attempt. Now, if they're out of retry attempts, then one of two things will happen. If there's a default action in place, that inbound caller is sent to the default action, right? Which is this last one here. If I remove that, all right, on that last failed attempt, the system will say we did not recognize your entry and say goodbye and end the call. And the reason for that is so that way you reduce the impact of robodialers on your account. All right, we already covered allowed outside recording. So allow dialing extensions, by default this is on, and that just means if the inbound caller enters a valid extension number, the system will transfer the call. All right, if I turn this off, that means my inbound callers can only press my menu options. Anything else is treated as invalid extension. Suppress the playing of invalid entry. So if you don't want that message to play, saying that the message of we did not recognize your entry, you can turn this on, which suppresses the playing of that message. All right, so any changes you make to your main menu, your greetings, or your settings, you want to click save here, right? You'll take you back to your incoming call handling, click save changes, right? You're clicking save twice. Now the second option here, calls coming in, I'm offering it to my support group and then to my virtual receptionist. This is referred to as the live operator answer option, right? So this first pull down allows you to select something that's on the system, right? Typically a user or a group call queue, right? Basically where someone can answer the call. If they are not able to pick up, right, then the inbound caller goes to your virtual receptionist. Now this is my after hours virtual receptionist, so that means I have a different greeting play and different menu options. Third option here is I have calls going here, and I'm telling the system, don't offer it to anyone else, just send it straight to this voicemail box. Now, this first pull down, you can change that, right? So I can offer it to a user, a group, even have a media file play. And then after it's done offering it to it, whether, if someone wasn't able to pick up, for instance, then the second pull down, I select the specific voicemail box I want messages left on. And the skip the voicemail option is the last one here under that first pull down. Right, the main conference number, you can have multiple conference room numbers if you want, right? So you can add from spare or buy new. Custom greeting is actually a text-to-speech greeting. Just type in what you want to say. Even if you leave this disabled, when you call your conference room number, this system says welcome to the conference, and then it prompts the inbound caller to enter their conference room number and PIN number. The main fax box number, you can only have the one, which is why I don't have the option to add others. But since I do, I can edit the fax box here. Inbound fax notification. This is designed to enter in an email address. That means anytime you get an inbound fax, this email gets an email, right? This email address gets an email saying, hey, you have a new fax. In the body, it has a date, the time, phone numbers involved. There'll be a PDF attachment. Now, one thing to be aware of, if someone dials my fax box number from their cell phone, right? They hear fax tones and hangs up, the system will still generate an email saying that there was a failed inbound fax attempt. Right now, hopefully in the body of the email, it will say something like wireless number. So then you know, oh, that was a missed dial, no big deal. But if it's a number you recognize or were expecting a fax from, you'd want to reach out to the other party saying, hey, it didn't get through. The email permissions, this is designed to put your company's email domain. And this means anyone at VirtualPBX, for example, can send a fax out on this account, even if they're not a user on the account, right? They just need that proper format, that +1 area code number, little @ symbol, and then they need the account realm, right? Then this attach a PDF or TIFF file. All right, auto attendance, this is a plan-specific feature. This is designed for a couple things. One, it's if you want to make use of sub-menuing, right? One for English, two for Spanish, right? You would then create auto attendants for those specific languages that would have greetings in those languages and then menu options that go to the people who speak the appropriate language. The other reason you would have this is if you want it, if you have multiple businesses, right? And so each of these businesses have their own main greeting, their own phone numbers, but you might have some of the same staff people answering calls for these different businesses. Now, when I mean, oh, in case I didn't say, a plan-specific feature, which means it's available on some plans but not others. So if you don't see this as an option, you would want to talk to our services team. Up here at the top, you click on Add Auto Attendant, give it a name, give it an extension number, and then click on Create Auto Attendant. When you click on the name, by default, it starts off like this, unavailable in main menu, right? Meaning it's a standalone auto attendant, i.e. its own business. Right now you can click on the toggle here and say it's available in main menu, meaning it's a menu option, right? So under your virtual receptionist, you can make one of your menu options go to this auto attendant. Or you can also be an option under next action under a group. Phone number box, groups can have their own phone numbers. Right, you can add from spare by new. The extension box, right, you can add additional sections for your auto attendants. This is something your customers probably wouldn't know, but your staff would use to send callers to a different either business or the appropriate language. You have a little wrench icon here under settings. Right, and here you have open hours, after hours, and holidays. Right, so these times match what we set up under the main number. Right, so your separate businesses have to have the same hours of operation. If they don't, you would want to check with our services team to see what your options are. But beyond that, this is a virtual receptionist. So you set up your menu options, your greetings, etc. Right, click on save and then save changes. All right, devices, show your devices on the account, right? Green means it's registered, so we can send calls to that device, right? Red is unregistered, so we can't send it to them, or we can try, but nothing will ring, it will go to voicemail. And then a black device is something we disabled here under the enable column. Now, you can add devices here directly to your devices tab. You're not assigning it anywhere, so it becomes a spare device. The one thing I want to point out here is for the soft phone, right? You don't have that option to toggle at the bottom, right? So if you want to use a VirtualPBX soft phone, you have to do it on the user's page. The little wrench icon here under Edit for the VoIP phones. Uh, for physical VoIP phones, under the selected audio, you want G711A or G711U. External caller ID, you can set up a specific phone number for this device, so that's always its outbound caller ID. The emergency caller ID, right? This is where you can assign a specific address to a phone, a VoIP phone. So that way when they dial 911, the proper address is transmitted to emergency services. Also, if you want to remove a device, right, down here, you click on the wrench icon, you click on delete, and that will remove the device from the account. All right, greetings tab. This shows all your media files on the account. Right, so main greeting, voicemail greetings, etc. You have the name of the file, and then the source, right? TTS, text to speech. Upload means you uploaded the file. Recording means it was recorded over the phone. This playback column allows you to listen to the greeting directly in your browser, so you can see if it's relevant or not. If it doesn't play back, or you want to keep a file of your greeting someplace, right? You can download the file to your device. This is something I recommend for your main greeting, so that way you have a copy of it someplace outside of our system. Especially comes a holiday season where sometimes you get in a rush and you have to record the greeting over the phone. Well, when you record over the phone, it overwrites the existing recording. So you could lose your normal greeting that you use for most of the year during the holidays, right? So this way you can download your normal one, and then if you record over the phone, you still have it, so you can upload it again. Little wrench icon here. This allows you to change the name of a file, so you can make it more recognizable or easier for you to find, or you can just delete a greeting if you no longer need it. Numbers, this shows you your numbers in use. All right, you have a little gear icon here, so you can edit the caller ID, E911, etc. The spare numbers tab, this is numbers that you're not using. If you want to get rid of a number, you click on the box in front of it, and then you have the option here to delete and confirm, and now it's gone. Port starts a new port process, right? Basically moving a number from another carrier to us. Just give it a name, choose local or toll-free. Then the system wants you to upload a PDF copy of your most recent bill from the current carrier, right? So whoever has the number right now. Then there's a form to fill out. It's basically what it should match what your current carrier has on file for you. It will ask for the BTN, which is the billing telephone number. If you're only porting one number, then just put that number as the BTN as well. It does ask you for a PIN number. It's typically only required for cell phone providers, some VoIP providers, and some Canadian providers, right? But not every number requires a PIN to port, so that may vary. Then you will be given the opportunity to download a blank letter of agency or LOA, and then you can upload the completed and signed version of that. It does need a signature, right? Digital signature file is fine, or you can print it out and sign it manually. Right? You don't want to just print your name twice though, because that will cause a rejection and delay. If everything's correct, a toll-free number takes about 3 to 5 business days, right? So about a week to complete. Local numbers average about 2 to 3 weeks. If we get an error or rejection, we double check to make sure there wasn't a typo somewhere or additional information that we have, like 2 different addresses. We can try both. But if we don't have any other recourse, then we let you know, hey, we're getting a rejection for this reason. And that usually means you have to contact your current carrier to find out the correct information that you need to port out. Once we get that from you, we can update requests and wait for them to let us know when the port out will be completed, or port in, as far as we're concerned, it will be completed. Voicemail boxes. This will show your voicemail boxes on the account. Anything that has an entry here under this user column, right? That's the voicemail box that was created with the user. Now you can click up here at the top to create a new voicemail box. You just need to give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number, and then click on create a voicemail box. And then once you do, so the voicemail box number, PIN number, that's what you would use to check voicemails messages over the phone or change the greeting over the phone. Under advanced greeting media, you can upload, right, a .wav.mp3 file up to 1 megabyte, or choose from something that's already on the account from the pull down. If you have something selected in media file and temporary, only the temporary file plays, right? The media file will not play again until you set temporary back to none, right? The temporary is there for that out of office or vacation message. Recipients. So your user voicemail boxes have one built-in recipient, right? That email address used for login. But for any voicemail, right? You can come to this page for the voicemail box, click on add new recipient, and enter in a new email address, right? You really want to do this for any voicemail box you created on the voicemails tab, but it applies to any, right? And then when you're done, click on save changes. Options. So once you have a media file in place and recipients in place, you can click on already set up, so that way people won't monkey around with it. And then you're going to want to double check that you've got attached messages to email and checked, and or if you want to have the delete after notification. So like this is my support voicemail box. I probably want the delete after notification enabled, so that way my voicemail box never becomes full, right? Because that can be a cause of concern for my customers. Virtual text forward. Yeah, this allows you, it says add-on, right? So you've had to choose it under that the account page, but this allows you to change a number to be accept inbound faxes or text, excuse me. Up here, click on add number, choose a number on your account, and then enter in either an email address or a webhook. A webhook means you would have to have had webhooks enabled on your account, but that means you're linking this to other software. Whereas if you just put an email address, this email gets an email saying, hey, you got a new text, here's the information. And then click on create text forward. Right, so these phone numbers, whenever they get a text message, there's an email sent out to these email addresses saying, hey, you have a new text, here's the information of that text. Call logs shows your call history on the account. You have today, you have this week, you have this month. You can also go custom. Green arrow to the right is a call coming into the system. Yellow arrow to the left is a call leaving the system, right, going outbound. The little fire extinguisher icon here, this will create an email for you that's pre-addressed to support@virtualpbx.com. You want the technical details of the call. You're going to want to type in the body of the email why you're sending in, because we're not always going to recognize from the technical details why you're sending that in. Now, this custom tab, right, you can choose the date range you want to go back to. The system will let you go back up to 12 months, right? You also have the option to always download these as CSV files. So if you're good with spreadsheets, you can get some more out of the call logs. If you need to go back further than 12 months, you need to reach out to our support team. we'd have to create an escalation for you. Our engineers can go back up to 18 months, but after that, the information is not available. So if you need this information for some sort of compliance reasons, you'd want to make sure you do this on a regular basis. Feature codes. These are ways for your VoIP phone users to access Dash features directly from their VoIP phone. This is also a page under the support pages, and under the support pages, you can also do a search for the phone command cheat sheet, which basically has a context help. All right, so under the menu here, we're going to go over to blacklists. This allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you're blocking from reaching to your staff. You click edit blacklist here, and if you need to create a new one, click on add. I'm just going to select an existing list. So first up, you can give it a name, and then decide if you're blocking anonymous calls or not, right? So right now, I'm not blocking anonymous calls. I'm letting them through. If I turn this on, that means I am blocking them. Right? An anonymous call is a phone number, a call that's coming in that's not presenting as caller ID. But beyond that, I click on add number. I put in +1 area code and phone number, right? No spaces, dashes, or parentheses. And I keep clicking add until I'm done adding numbers. Once I'm done, I click save. Then I click back to settings up here at the top right. And then I make sure my list is over here on the right under selected, which may mean I may have to click and drag, right? And then I click update. Even if list was already on the right, click update. Right? And then, so any phone number that are on these lists, when they call in, right, they'll show up in the call log, but they're not going to ring through to any of your staff members. They'll get a busy tone. Call recording. If you're using the built-in call recording, right, this will open up a new tab, take you to recordings.virtualpbx.net. It will ask you for your Dash login, and then you can view your call recordings there. If you're using AWS, it will instead show you your call recordings here, so you can play back and download. Monitor. This is a plan-specific feature. This allows you to see their staff members who are on a call or not. Right? You can also specify by device. Right? But you can also go who's available, who's busy. Over here on the left, an active inbound call, right? Each one would have its own little blue box and then show who they're speaking to among your staff. And then parked calls, if someone parked a call, their phone number would show up here and then the parking spot number. Reports, this is a plan-specific feature. It opens up a new tab, takes you to reports.virtualpbx.com, which has its own login. In the show notes, you want to take a look at the advanced reporting demo, because that will cover this. But basically, this allows you to create your own reports. So in the advanced version of the call logs. Voicemails tab, this will let you get to any voicemail box on the account. So you can view their messages, right? So like if a voicemail box is full, this is what you would use. And you can put a check mark in front of the number. So that allows you to change the status, or you can even move it to a different voicemail box. You can obviously play it back or download it over here on the far right if you need to. Integration AWS plan-specific feature, but this is where you would set up that integration between your Dash account and your AWS account. Right? These middle three pieces of information are what you would need from AWS. All right, call center. Again, look in the show notes for the ACD Qs Pro demo. This opens the call center link here opens up a new tab, takes you to callcenter.virtualpbx.com. This is your Dash login. That's how you would access the call center queues. So like how you log into the queue, mark yourself away, how you add queues, etc. Call queues are an advanced version of groups. Right? Groups have those very limited ringing options, whereas queues, you can do things like, set up the call ringing to go by who's been most idle, right? Whoever's been waiting the longest. Things of that nature. It also, the call queues allows a manager to eavesdrop in on a call, whisper to a staff member. Also for queues, your staff members can log themselves in and out of the queue or mark themselves away, which is not something they can do in a group. Dynamic caller ID, this is a plan-specific feature. This allows you to create rules to change the outbound caller ID of your VoIP phones. Edit here. So this one, right, I gave it a name. I chose this phone number on my account. And the rule is whenever my staff members dial a 702 area code phone number, the system will automatically change the outbound caller ID to this phone number I selected. Right now, this has to be on their VoIP phones. The other thing you can do is create your own feature code. So here I say, hey, it's my staff member dial *951, enters the area code and phone number they're reaching out to. And when they do so, the system changes the outbound caller ID to this 916 number. Faxes, this is your fax manager. You can get to any fax box on the account. On the inbound fax tab, you can see the faxes that have come in. You can download the file. Outbound fax tab, you can see your faxes here that have gone out. If you see a failure here, you want to mouse over the failure to see if there's an additional reason. And that means we had a problem with the other fax number, right? Connecting to it in some fashion. The email to fax tab, this shows a problem where the system had a problem processing the request, right? It shows the email addresses, so you can be sure that they're the proper format. But if you click on the little eyeball icon here to the far right, you see that the main reason was there was no valid attachment. That could be they forgot to attach a file. It could be they had the wrong type. Number manager, this just takes you to your spare number page. Webhooks, plan-specific feature. It's programming. This allows you to link your Dash account to other software. In the show notes, you want to take a look at the introduction to Zapier webinar. That's going to cover some webhooks. You can also go to developer.virtualpbx.com to see sample code of what we have done. Otherwise, and if you're interested in this, you'd want to talk to our sales staff. SMS registration. This is the SMS registration process, and this is where you get it started. This is if you want to make use of texting on your account. If you don't see SMS or virtual text as a feature on your account, you want to reach out to our account services team. They have to go over SMS registration with you before they can get that enabled on your account. And then the user portal. Every person has access to their own user portal. It defaults you to your voicemail, right? So you can listen to them, you can play them back, you can change its status. You can view your call history, and you can change the date range to go further back. The fax tab only works for users that have their own fax box, but they'll be able to see their fax history. Contact list shows everything on the Dash account, right? Other users, groups, call queues, etc. Conference tab only works for users that have their own conference tab or conference feature enabled. Here on the right-hand side, this is where your staff members adjust the PIN numbers. You want to make sure that the moderator PIN and the participant numbers are different. You have your options here to have people join deafened or muted and play entry and exit tones. While in a conference, you can come to this page. The plus sign lets you invite other Dash users to your conference. You can lock the conference, mute everybody, unmute everybody, end the conference. Also, while in a conference, each person has their own little box. So moderator can mute a specific person or even kick out a person. And then the settings and devices tab right here is where people could enable call forwarding on their own, put a check mark, enter +1 area code and number, right? And then save. So now I'm call forwarding, uncheck it, save again. Now I'm not. And that is everything. And since I haven't seen any questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.